So you're thinking about buying a home here in Florida, and it can be a very exciting time, a whole new place to live, new climate, new everything. But it can also be a little scary. It's really a daunting task, even just to do a real estate transaction in the city that you are currently living in, an area that you're familiar with. But to do it from one state to another is just a whole new level of maybe some fears and anxiety. So I get that. So in today's video, I want to share with you the ABCs of buying a home from one state to the next to help minimize those fears, to minimize that anxiety, to give you peace of mind as we go through the process. Hi, I'm Jill Thomas, and each week I bring new videos about real estate here in Florida and what it's like to live here. I've lived here since 1991. I came from the Midwest, and I've been licensed since 2008. So with this channel, I really like to provide some solid information for folks so they can make really good decisions for themselves. They know which way to go, which, there's so many options, so much to consider. So that's what this channel is all about. So if you're in that boat of maybe wanting to buy here or sell here, then maybe consider subscribing to my channel. But really, in the end, I encourage you, if I can be of help in any way, please reach out to me, call, text, or email. I'm here to help. In the end, you might not decide to move at all or move to a different city, but that's okay. Give me a call and let's see what I can do to help you make the next best decision. Okay, so I'll be honest with you. Most of the buyers I work with are actually not from this area. And in fact, some have never even been here, or maybe have only visited once or twice, or it's been. Sometimes people say, oh yeah, I've been there back in the 90s or in the early 2000s, or when I was a little kid, I visited my grandmother. And so most of my people are not from here at all. So that's why I think this is a good video. Some practical things that I can suggest for you to do, things that I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do to help you out so you can make those good decisions. In the end, like I said, I want you to have peace about the whole process. Now, this could be even for people who have just recently moved here, or if you're going to move here and rent first. Really, all of these things still apply. So here we go. The ABCs of buying in Florida when you're from another state. So A, our ABCs. A is analyze. This is doing your research, analyzing, digging in. So if you're watching this video, my guess is you are already doing this to some degree. You're watching videos, you're reading things, you're binge watching, you're doing as much research as you can. You're talking to anybody and everybody that you think could provide some information. So that is great. Keep that up. You want to do your research, do your homework. And things that you might be looking up are the types of homes, things that are just more about Florida itself. Like I said, the types of homes. Let's see, we could talk about insurance, things like that, but then also just Florida life itself, our climate, the weather, the animals. Okay, so there's all of these things packaged together that could be of huge importance to you. And in reality, even if you've come down and you've been on Siesta Key a dozen times, it's not uncommon at all when I'm working with people and I'm talking to them on the phone, or they come and visit, I've got them in the car, they'll go, I've been here, I don't know how many times. I didn't know this. I didn't know that. Whether it is about our area or about the real estate process or types of homes. So people are often surprised because visiting here, it's not the same thing as living here. Being a tourist, definitely the two things there's a lot of disconnect. And that's just natural. I'm not putting anybody down. It's just the way it is. So you're doing all this analysis. You're doing your research. You're digging in. The other thing too, you really need to dig in and figure out which real estate agent you're going to use, because when you're loyal to that real estate agent, somebody that you like and trust, they're going to work really hard for you to help you find the right property. They're going to educate you. So make sure you do find somebody. And of course, you might not be buying in the Sarasota area, so you wouldn't necessarily be working with me because I don't obviously cover the East Coast or the Panhandle. I just stick with my Sarasota and Manatee Counties. Now, if you do need a referral for somebody, I can certainly help with that as well. But really, you want to find an agent you can like and trust. Somebody who's going to shoot straight with you, fill in those gaps, help you to really understand the process and what it's like to be here. Somebody who's going to be transparent, because we want to minimize your surprises, right? We want to set those expectations so that you can have a good transaction, and we want to take away that fear. We don't want you to lose your mind here as we go through this process. And really, in the end, you don't know what you don't know. Like I said before, people are often surprised. Even the best of sleuths, the people who are really digging in, there's usually some things that they're just not aware of. And so you do want that person to be able to fill in those gaps, educate you, figure out what you don't know, and share the right stuff. So somebody who has knowledge, has the right connections, and can communicate that well to you. So again, you want to analyze Florida, You want to analyze our real estate market, but then you also want to dig in and find the right real estate agent that you can trust and also like, because it's a big process. You want to have somebody you can enjoy talking to. So again, analyze. Keep doing your research. I love it when people do their research because they feel like they've got some control over the situation and they're just not walking blindly through the process. So that's a good thing. Keep doing your you're analyzing. Okay, so A is analyze. B is be open-minded. So of course you're doing all this research. That's good stuff right there. But in reality, the internet isn't always right. And so you've got to be open-minded to understand, again, what you don't know and help to fill in those gaps. And it's not so somebody can take advantage of you or try to pull something over on you, but know that maybe you just didn't catch everything. First of all, sometimes when people do research, what they're researching doesn't always necessarily apply to the state of Florida. So different rules, laws, even the way as real estate agents, how we work, insurance, mortgages, all of that stuff can vary from state to state. And so even if it's something that you've experienced in the past or something you've done research on, it can be different here. Even still, if you've talked to somebody, maybe you've got a good relative who bought here 10 years ago, things could have even changed since then. So even though that's the way it worked for them 10 years ago, it might not apply to today, or it depends too on, if they bought a condo, laws have changed with condominiums here. So there's a lot of other things that could be missed as you're doing all of that good research. And then also I encounter people who bring maybe some frustrations or joys from past experiences from another state that they've got going on. So they're bringing those preconceived notions with them as well. So again, try to be a little bit open-minded and just don't assume that because of you've experienced something a certain way in the past, that's the way it's going to be again here. And then also things that actually vary in the state of Florida from county to county. Miami is so different than the rest of the state. And then even recently this summer, I received an offer on one of my listings and the real estate agent wasn't from our market area. So anyhow, I talked to him on the phone in advance and I said, no, our area is a little unique with some of these things. That's not how we operate here. So he still wrote the offer in a way that's kind of opposite of the way we do things here. And in the end, the seller countered and the buyer accepted those changes. But still, so keep in mind too that even the whole state of Florida isn't identical. All right, so things are run differently from one region to the next. I often do ask people to be flexible or a little open-minded as they are talking about properties because, again, you don't know what you don't know. And I like to make suggestions on some other areas or types of properties or just different situations. And it's not unusual for the buyer to go, oh my goodness, I wasn't even aware of that. Now, in the end, doesn't mean you have to like it. You don't have to agree. That's okay. I'm not trying to push somebody to want to buy something or be interested in something that they don't have interest in. But you're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on something. So we definitely want to make sure that we're considering as much as possible, because a year or two down the road, after you're around here for a while, I don't want you to go, Jill, I should have bought this kind of property instead of this one. I think I would have liked that better. So we just don't want that to happen. Let's consider as much as possible to really make sure that we're getting the best fit for you. Something else to be open-minded about is some of the struggles that we have here in the state of Florida. Almost all of my videos, I talk about homeowners insurance and roofs and some things like that. But I feel like every week I talk to somebody who goes, oh, I wasn't even aware of that. Maybe they were watching some of my older videos before this became such a big deal. Or maybe they just watched a couple of my videos and it just didn't sink in or something like that. So some of our processes with that aren't very simple. In fact, I was just talking to a buyer yesterday and there's a property that he's really interested in and there's definitely some hurdles involved with this. And I told him, I said, it's not that the situation's impossible, but it's just not very simple. So let's kind of slow the roll. We want to do some more research, get a quote for a roof. Let's talk to an insurance agent. Let's do all these things before we even write the offer, because I don't want you to waste your time and money with having an inspection and then we find out pretty quick that this isn't going to work for you anyhow. So we just have to take it step by step. And so that's the other thing too, is just be mindful that we do have some very specific hurdles in our area that might not exist in the state where you come from. So again, be open-minded. Yes, keep doing that research. That's good stuff. But be open-minded to know that maybe the information's outdated or maybe it isn't as simple as what you perceived it to be, or maybe there's just some things that you weren't aware of at all. And so just kind of keep an open mind about all of that. And so again, looking out for you so you can make really good decisions, and the less surprises, the better. Letter C is communication. And this is so important. Good communication from you to me, and then also from me to you. It is vital to have a successful transaction, and in really any type of relationship at all. Good communication is paramount. So first, when it comes to communication, the first conversation I have with people, either on the phone or in person, and I usually just say, just start talking. Tell me the who, what, where, when, why, and how of your situation. And then when you're done getting everything off your mind that you want to share with me, then I'll start to ask more questions to kind of help fill in those gaps and figure out what else I need to know from you. So, maybe why do you want to move here? What's your motivation? Sometimes people, they're hesitant, not often, but sometimes they're a little hesitant about sharing a price point. I need to really know what your budget is, because there's a big difference between, trying to find a home for $400,000 versus, if your budget's $600,000. And I'm very respectful. If you say, Jill, I can spend up to $600, but I really want to try to keep it closer to $500, then that's fine. I'm not going to push you to buy a $600,000 home. So I want to be very respectful of those things, but I do need to know some of those details. I don't need to know your credit score or anything like that. That's between you and the lender. But some of these basic facts are such a huge help. So first, communicate your who, what, where, when, why, and how with me. Second thing is any other fears or concerns you have coming into the transaction. I mentioned previously that sometimes people have bad experiences, and so it causes them to hesitate, or maybe they're a little bit more skeptical sometimes. I can be in the middle of a transaction and I sense that the buyer is kind of like hesitant, I guess is a good word. I get a little pushback in certain realms, and then I come to find out, well, it's because they had a bad experience in a certain way at one point in the past when it came to real estate. So if you can share some of those things with me, it could be that in the state of Florida, it would be a non-issue altogether, because that's not how we work. Or maybe there's some steps I could have taken earlier on to help mitigate that, help reduce it. Maybe it's just a little speed bump in the process versus where it feels like you're falling off a cliff. So share any of those bad experiences you've had in the past, or certain expectations you might have, because then that's going to be a huge help for me to help you. The next thing I want to talk to you about, the third thing, is risk. When you buy a house, there's definitely risk involved. Everything we do in life, there's risk. You drive your car, you could get into a car accident, so you're taking a risk when you get in your car every day. Real estate is no different. And so everybody has a different comfort level when it comes to risk. And I want to respect what that is. So I like to share with people, okay, here's the risk if we do this versus that. What's your comfort level? And sometimes people's comfort level changes along the way too. So here's some for instances on risk. Hands down, I've had a good number of people buy a home without seeing it first. They don't see it until the closing day, or they don't see it until after they've closed. So obviously, that's a risk. Now, most people are not comfortable with that, and that's okay. So whatever your comfort level is with that. Some people are willing to write an offer on a property. We get it under contract. They come down during the inspection period and see the property. So a little bit less risk. In the end, you're wasting maybe potentially time and money, because you're paying for your plane ticket, you're paying for the inspection, and then you just get out of the contract. So you're risking some money and time, but not just buying the wrong house altogether. So those are things to consider. Other things about the house themselves, like I've mentioned, we've got issues with roofs and insurance. And so there's risks with that we could talk about. So you go, okay, well, Jill, I won't buy an old home. I'll buy a new home. Okay, super. But there's risks even with a new house. First of all, just because you close doesn't mean the whole house is going to be completely done. It's not unusual for these builders to have like an exceptions list and things that they're saying, yep, we're going to fix this as soon as we can after you close, but you're still going to close. And just so you know, for those of you who are thinking, well, I just won't close. Well, the way the contract's written, it's in the favor of the seller, of the builder. So you will be closing. Otherwise, they're going to charge you so much money per day if you don't. So there's risk with that. Then also, the homes never seem to be done in a timely fashion. Right now, I've got two new construction people, and they're not my first that have been in this situation, but right now actively 2 people who really the homes should have been done 2-3 months ago. Then they both were supposed to close a couple of weeks ago, same week. They got canceled. Those closings got canceled, got rescheduled. I think that was this week already. And then now they're not closing for 2 more weeks. So here a whole month for just small things. You go into the house looks complete, the house looks great, but just a couple little things. And so they're waiting on windows or waiting on something from the county. So there's all these things that hold it up. So there's risk with that too, because where are you going to live in the meantime? You think you've got your bases covered, and then sure enough, you're pushed into a corner here. So there's risk with new construction. I kind of mentioned already too with condominiums, the laws are changing. Doesn't apply to all condominiums, but there's some issues with that could be risk. So check out episode 150 if you're a condo person to take a look at that to see what those risks are. So I think that for me as an agent, I see part of my job is to communicate to you as much as I'm aware of potential risks with buying a house or particular property, or things could go this way or they could go that way, and sometimes we just don't know what could happen down the road. But as long as you can understand, like if this is the worst case scenario, if you're okay with that, then I'm okay with that. If that's beyond your comfort level, if that's too much risk for you, then we need to find a different property or go about it a different way. So I think that's huge with communication. The fourth thing that's really important with communication, I think, is setting expectations. And that's really everything that we've just talked about already. It really falls down into this bucket, into this category. And again, this applies for any type of relationship. Having the right expectations or setting expectations just right can really help so much. If you know that, hey, this could happen, this might happen, this is normal for our area, and you know that up front, and then if it does happen, you're not going to be so blown away. Sometimes people just get very frustrated. They go, well, this is ridiculous. And it's like, well, no, actually, this is very normal for us. And of course, I cannot communicate to you every potential scenario, but in general, if you understand what those things could be, then I think it really does help in the process to keep it smooth so you're not going crazy, you don't lose your mind. I think it's a big, big thing. And just by you doing your research, watching videos, will help with setting expectations as you consider purchasing a property in the state of Florida. And then number 5, please ask me questions. I'm here to help. Sometimes I give so much information to people and it's a lot to take in, especially the first couple conversations we have or the first time we're out looking at properties. And I know, and I'll say to people, now there's a good chance you're not going to remember everything I just told you, everything we talked about, and that's okay. Down the road, if something comes to your mind, you go, okay, I know she talked about this. I need to know more about it. Then I said, just ask me again. It's okay to ask me questions. I encourage it because I want you to feel good about it. Again, going back to expectations, going back to risk, all of those things. It's a huge thing. I used to teach junior high and lower high school math. And so if I could do that, if I could work with those junior high boys, you are a piece of cake. So it's no problem. Just ask me those questions and I will help however I can. And if I don't have the answer, then we're going to go to a different source and try to get those questions answered. So communication, C, is paramount. So A, analyze, B, be open-minded, C, communicate. So real estate is definitely a process. It's a journey. It is not a sprint. So you get an idea in your head, you think, okay, I might want to move to Florida. So you start your research online. In time, you communicate with another agent, you start a conversation, a dialogue. Is this person going to be a good fit for me? You're going to be open-minded about that so you can continue to learn more, fill in those gaps, make sure you've got the right information, and that communication is going to continue on and on until you get to that closing table. And it's such an exciting time. So again, if you think I might be a good fit for you, or if you want me to help you find another agent in the state of Florida, please reach out to me. I'm happy to help you out with that. It's not a problem. And please know, I'm not too busy for you. Sometimes people will call me up and go, oh, you've got a YouTube channel. Are you going to be too busy for me? Nope, I'm your gal. I have some background help. I got somebody who helps with marketing and doing these video stuff and things on social media. I've got another gal who's licensed who helps. She kind of helps just fill in the gaps a little bit. Maybe if I need help with research or some quick appointments, if something comes up, but otherwise, I'm your number one contact person. I don't pass you off to somebody else completely. So reach out to me. I'm here to help you out. Guys, thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Have a great day.